everyone. You listen to another episode of Let's Talk Sports with Tim McCain, and I am here with the one and only Ashley Treasure Theophane, 50-8-1. This brother was in 59 fights, 17 knockouts. He is the real deal. How you doing today, Ashley?
I'm doing well, my man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, Ashley,
Yeah.
when did you know that boxing was for you?
You know what it was? Like my pops, he used to watch like the big American guys, and then he used to stay up late to watch them like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And then like one time I must have saw it, I think it was Mike, and he must have KO'd a guy, and then I just started to enjoy it. So I used to watch Mike all the time, Iron Mike, and seeing what he was doing, I wanted to do that as like a little kid. And then, I asked my mom and dad if I could go down to the gym. I think like 2 years went by, and then I went to the gym, and then I had so much fun in the gym. I was like, yeah, like this is what I want to do with my life, man. So it starts off as a kid wanting to do it, but there's so much hard work and that has to go into it. And you have to remember, I'm from the UK, like I'm born here, but my dream was always to go to the USA to fight and stuff. So like my drive and determination, that's kind of what got me there against the odds.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Ashley, did you fight as an amateur? And if you did, what kind of experiences did you have as an amateur?
So basically, as an amateur, it was like I was good, but when it came to the tournaments, I just never could get to the finals. So I was all right, but the weird thing is, the guys who was the stars as the amateurs, I beat a few of them as a pro, and I went on to achieve like so much more than all of them.
Yes.
So it's like you could be the star in the amateurs, but the pro game's like a next thing.
Next level. And I noticed that I went to 2 weeks ago, I went to a trifecta nightclub.
Okay.
Hosted a lot of amateur boxing events. And this was some of these guys, their first time. And all I noticed was they were just throwing haymakers. There was no pacing. There was no patience. They were just going for each other's throats. How long did it take for you to adjust as an amateur to know when to pace yourself or how to handle somebody who's an amateur just throwing haymakers at you?
Well, with me, again, I used to watch a lot of the American pros. And my coach in the UK, I would be in the ring and I'd be doing my skills, and he would say, "You're not a professional. You're not a professional. Stop doing that. Stop doing that." And so for me, even as an amateur, I think that's why I didn't really shine in the amateurs. My style was always based on the pro style because that's what I love to watch. And so for me, and again, I sparred with a lot of professionals as well. So I kind of learned off them. So for me, it's more of a pacing thing, but for me, I kind of adapted quickly because pro was what I always wanted to do. So I always kind of trained that way, which wasn't good for me when I was an amateur, but when I was a professional, it was like, you know what I mean? Like it was just go, like it just ran well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So transitioning from being an amateur to
Yeah.
being in your first professional fight, and it was June the 3rd, 2003.
Okay.
What was that experience like for you facing your first opponent in 2003?
Well, for me, again, because I was not an amateur star, it took me like I think 8 to 9 months to get my first pro fight. So again, it wasn't easy for me to get a fight because none of the UK promoters, they didn't want to show me like no love because they was like, because normally they want to sign the amateur stars and I wasn't no amateur star. So it was like, who is he? So it was hard for me to get my first fight. Then I got my first fight, and then I always remember before the ring walk, I looked myself in like a mirror they had there, and I was like, it's now, you got to do it now. Like, you know what I mean? Because I've been waiting for this. I was 22 at the time. So since I was 7 years old to 22 years old, this is where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a professional. So I was like you got to do what you got to do. So the nerves was there. And the funny thing was, the promoter, he tried to give me a guy that he thought would beat me. So the guy had 3 fights. He had lost 1, but he had come swinging at me, and so we just went to war. And then I think I won by the 3rd round KO. So it was a good fight, man. But yeah, it was a good way to start as a pro.
Do you like those fights where you're just throwing haymakers at each other, or do you prefer the pacing, slow action, trying to figure each other out kind of style of boxing?
Well, for me, so I used to like Ray Jones is my all-time fave. Pernell Whitaker as well is one of my all-time faves. So I used to like the guys that could box and were very slick.
Okay.
And so again, when I went to the USA, I wanted to box because that was my style in the UK. But when I got to the USA, they were so much better than me. I was like, oh shit. Like, I came over there and I thought I could box, but the coaches were just showing me all these little skills and showing me what I was doing wrong. I was like, damn. So then I changed up my style, like when I came to the USA, because I was like, I'm not as slick as these guys who've been doing it for all their life. So then I started, because I was always in great shape. That's one thing I'll say about us guys over here. We train so hard and we're always in great shape. But what I found with a lot of the American guys, the guys who had skills, they maybe didn't train as hard because they had so much skills. So they just relied on out and out and out doing the guy that they was going to fight. So my thing was always to try to break them down. So, and again, one of my favorite guys I like is Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Yes, sir.
And I love him because he would just go in there and just try to hurt you, to break you down. So then that's when I came to the USA, I had to switch up my mind frame. And then that was my frame that I'm gonna be fitter than anyone I fight. Like fit. This was my thing. Like I ain't gonna get tired. Like there's no, and my chin was pretty good. So so my thing was so I started out. I used to box when I was young because that was what I used to like. But then when I came to the USA, I had to switch up my style and be more gritty. And I did it.
Yes, sir. So I want to take us inside the mind of a fighter. So when there's adversity that happens to you inside the ring, for you personally, how do you handle that in those situations when your back's against the wall? You want to get a win. It seems like the odds are against you, but you end up winning the fight. Tell us, what's that transition like? What's that mindset like?
Well, something like that can't be taught. That's inside you, knowing that you want it so much. Like, say for me, it would always be like on my ring walk, I would be like, this has always been my dream to be where I am now. So when I was with Floyd Mayweather and I would do like the ring walks, my thing would be like, this has been my dream to be here, or I've worked so hard to get here. And even if there was fights that it wasn't going well or it was going tough, like it's about the drive inside you. Like it's either you quit or you fight on. You know what I mean? So for me, and I would say there's a lot of guys out there. Like my mind frame, it's sad to say it, but even my mama, I would always tell my mom that my mind frame was that I was willing to die in the ring. So that was, even though it's not nice to see us die in the ring, but that was the mentality that I took, that it's me or him. Like it's all out. So that's kind of, and then you get into a hard fight. 'Cause I always remember first time I fought in the USA, I lost. But again, this is when you find out how tough you are. I pissed blood like straight after the fight. The guy was so tough. And I lost like I think it was the first 4 rounds. I was losing. And the team that I was with, they wanted to throw in the thing to say, like, we've had enough. And the referee came over and my guy was saying to him, yeah, we want to, and I was saying, no, this is my dream to fight in the USA. Like you're trying, I was like, no, don't throw in the towel, don't. So then I went from being 4 rounds down to a lot of the ringside reporters thought I won like 5 of the last 6 rounds, and they thought I lost the fight, but a lot of the reporters thought the fight should have been a draw because I just came back so much that they couldn't believe it. So again, that goes to inside you, the drive that you have in it, and like not wanting to quit, and what the work it's taken for you to get this far. And so I think you can train a man to be in shape and that, but it comes from within, like how much you want it. Or if you come from poverty, if you come from being very poor, and you know what I'm saying, you want to change your life, that's another thing that you're like, yo, like this is my only way. This is my only way. So, like it is what it is.
So you kind of respected Deontay Wilder. He got rid of his one of his trainers who threw in the towel with the Tyson Fury fight because he was like, no, it's either me or him in the ring. What do you think of that decision to let go?
All right, so it's weird. It's weird because I've always told anyone who trains me, I've always said to my coaches, if you throw in the towel, you're getting sacked. Like, fuck that. I'd rather like be out on the floor, like KO'd, like I don't care. Like, don't save me in the ring. Like, don't save me in the ring. So that's always been my mentality. Yes. That's when I was young. Like, so I understand like why he sacked him. I think he was wrong for doing it because Breland, as a professional and as an amateur, he done everything.
Right.
Everything. So he was a man who had been there, and I understood why he basically thought he didn't have a chance. Boom. So I understand why he threw in the thing. But I guess if Deontay, I think I saw a thing where Deontay said that everyone knew that don't throw in the thing, and like they were warned. So if you were warned and you go and do it, it's great that you do that to save my health. But at the same time, like I told you, don't do it. So I can see both sides of it. Like with Mark, he's done it as a pro, so he knows how it feels. So I know why he threw it in there. But I'm older now. So like when I was young, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is my way out. But now that like I'm cool now, like I'm older now, like I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like it changes. I'm not that raw like no more. So I could see both sides. I could see why Mark did it, and I understand why Deontay said, yeah, you gotta go, because that's what I've always told all of my team. If you throw it in, just know that it's the last fight. You gonna work with me. And I've said that to all of them.
So what is it? Why is it such a bad deal? I mean, you got a trainer, you got a coach who like believes in your best well-being. He throws in the towel. Why is it wrong if an opponent is beating your brains out? Why is it wrong for a trainer to throw in that towel to protect you?
It's not. Well, Buddy McGirt, he's McGirt. He used to always, if his guys were hurt a little bit, he would always throw in, like, without a doubt. And I used to always say, I would never work with him, because if he sees you get a little bit hurt, it's over. It's over. Like, he don't care. So I'll say that's great because he cares about his guys who are going there to fight, and he's don't want them to get hurt. But because, again, I don't want to say I was raised, but when I got into the sport, I watched a lot of these brutal fights where these guys fought to the death. So that was always my mentality from a kid to a young adult, to go in the ring with that mindset. Now it's not that way. Now I want to come out and be safe because I actually have a nice life and I like my life and shit. But so I understand why a coach would do it and stuff. But yeah, just when I used to come up, it was a neck.
And it affects your money too, because a loss affects boxers.
Of course. If you lose, then you got to kind of start over again to build up to what you were getting paid.
Which is terrible, because usually even the great boxers, they have 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10.
Yeah. They got. If you look at the great names, they all got like over 5 losses on them. Like it's normal.
So I feel like the way that people they look at these boxers is actually unfair.
Yeah. Well, it's a sport. There's great teams that lose all the time. Yeah. And we don't say, they're shitty because they lose, but it's how they come back that matters.
That's what
You know what I mean? So I think we see a lot of great teams that, you know, they might have a bad game or a bad day and then they lose, but that don't define their greatness. Cause you know what I'm saying? They come back and then they show like what they're made of. So it's sad nowadays that it's gone like that. But most great guys have lost like over for 5 fights or whatever it is. Most. You got Ali is seen as the greatest, and I think he's lost like 5.
Exactly. So my question to you is so after you went and you were a part of Mayweather's promotions for 5 years, you went for a world tour. What was that experience like being a part of the world tour?
You know it was. So I was with Floyd for 5 years, and then I wanted to fight. I wanted to fight back home, and I came back home, and then I couldn't get a fight that I wanted back home. So then I was like, I could retire, but I always wanted to do a world tour. So I spoke to some promoters, and it was great. A lot of them were small shows. Some of them were big shows. Some of them were small shows, but it was more the love and respect that I got like across the world. It's like, yo, like these people know me or they know what I've achieved. And so it was great to like just get like some fan love, like some love from my peers, and you know, to go around the world, man. So it was fun. Like for 2 years, done 10 fights, 9 countries. So I had a great time. You know, I'm glad I went on it. And then the last fight was actually hard. I fought a former world champion. So and it was actually weird because he used to be in camp with Floyd, like back in the day. So he actually sparred Floyd. I think it was for the Ortiz fight. So I think it was like, yeah, some years ago that he sparred Floyd, and yeah. And it was weird because my friend Dave, who was part of Floyd's team, he said to make sure you win, Ash, because he was an arsehole in camp. So yeah, so that was cool. You know what I mean? But yeah, he was still tough. He was a tough fight.
Yes, sir. And so after that, you since you've retired from boxing,
Well, I haven't retired as yet.
Okay, you haven't retired.
I haven't retired. I might retire. I don't know yet. So I haven't announced it.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? I don't care if I do fight or not. So it's just it's up in the air.
Up in the air. Okay. Since your last fight, which was your 50th victory.
Yeah.
Started your Treasure Boxing Club and you wrote the book. Okay.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, are those things that you dreamed about when you were a younger person? Yes, your book, Raised from the Hood.
It is the book, Raised by the Hood.
Raised by the Hood. How long did it take you to write that book? And what was the inspiration for you writing it?
All right. So basically, when I came to the USA, I used to write about what went down in camp. So when I was British champion, I used to write my camp stuff. And then when I was with Floyd for the 5 years that I was with Floyd, when stuff was going on in camp, I would go back to my base and I would just say what's going down. So I was writing the book, I would say, for over 10 years. So it's weird when I read back what I was actually doing, it just spikes my memory. I was like, oh yeah, shit, I remember that time. So like it's basically because the book's thick. So it's basically like 2 books in one. Because there's just I could have made it into 2 books, but so basically like when I was young, I used to be on the streets, went jail, all that stuff. So you got about my youth days, and then you get when I go jail, then I come out, and then I just say I'm gonna box, and then we go towards like the camps in the box. And so it kind of what made me want to finish the book is that over here, and I guess in the USA as well, there is a lot of kids that are on the streets and they think that this is going to be their world, that this is all I can do. And this book is it shows you where I was at before I was 20 years old. And then I changed my life. And to see that a man that went to jail, he was on the streets doing all these mad stuff, that he ended up being in the USA with Floyd. Wow. You know what I mean? So So that's why, to me, this book is this is a good book for youth. It's a good, if you're a fan of the sport, it's cool because you get to see like what goes on like day in, like day out. When I had issues with like the commissions, they stole money off me and promoters and stuff. So a lot of the bullshit of the sport is in the book as well. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
yeah, like it's all right.
Well, I actually want to I want to further on with Treasure Boxing, but I just want to make a side point. We too in North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. We have
Okay, yeah. So I had one fight there. So I fought there 2012. 2012.
Yeah,
2012.
we have an issue with our commission as well. It's almost non-existent. At least
Okay.
a lot of the fighters say, you know. So it's. I just wanted to point out that that commission thing is a real thing.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like I had basically there was one promoter that took around 10,000 out of my purse, and he gave it to my manager at the time. But I had left the manager, but he was friends with the manager. So in the UK, you're not allowed to take out like you're supposed to give me the cash, then I pay everyone, I pay my team. But they took out, say, the 10,000, the 25%, and they gave it to them. So I went to the commission and said, yo, it says in your rules that they're not allowed to do that. The commission said, you're right, they were wrong, but we're gonna leave it. And then so they got to keep my 10,000. So that was, you know what I mean? So that was bad. But so it just shows there's a lot of stuff going on. And then when I was British champion, I beat the European. He was number one in the European, and I beat him. So I'm supposed to be one now. Right. But because I had fought for some other commission who the Europeans don't like, they said that I'm banned from their rankings. So, but lucky for me, I was working with a man at the time. He got some lawyers on hand, and then they basically had to take off the ban, and then they changed their rules to say that I could be banned for a year and not for life. But so again, there's just stuff like that in the book where it just shows like what goes on. And a lot of us, we don't talk about it because if you talk about it and you expose them, then you'll never fight again.
Yeah, you're right. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm at a stage in my career, I don't care if I fight or not. So I don't give a fuck. So I just put it out there. So it's there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, that's the one thing I wonder about boxing. You know, when it comes to the commission, when it comes to the judges, a lot of fans feel like boxing robs a lot of great fighters.
Yeah, it does.
And so we don't see the same level of greatness from boxing that we see like in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Yeah. What do you think boxing needs to be at the level that it once was?
I think it would never go back to that. Because that's another thing with Floyd, the later part of his career, or for a lot of his career, he stayed in Nevada. You know what I mean? He brought a lot of cash to Nevada. And I always said to him, like, why don't you fight in the UK? Because you could fight on these big grounds and sell out. And he said, I could do that all over the world. But the issue is, when you're someone like Floyd, you don't want to go to another commission because you don't know them. So they could just cheat you. But when you're used to working with a certain commission, you have a relationship with that commission, you trust them, you know what I mean? So I think that was why he stayed in Nevada a lot of his career, because the sport, you can't trust the sport. You don't know what these guys are doing. They might want to a lot of times as well, they wanted Floyd to lose. He's a black man in America who's making so much cash, and a lot of folks don't like to see that. So, you know, he's got to be careful. You know what I mean? Because they wanted to see him fail so much. You got the Canelo fight. One judge, she gave it a draw. Yeah. It was nowhere a draw. No. So, you know what I mean? So you just have to, the sport itself, as much as I love the sport,
right,
it's the politics behind it that ruins it. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. So my last question to you is, you know, just from your experience with the Floyd Mayweather, and also your experiences being from the UK, being an independent thinker and being a boss.
Yeah.
If you were going to speak to young people or young people in general about how to be an independent thinker and to be a boss, what would you tell them?
One thing I think one you should get a mentor, like someone who's been there, someone who's done what you're trying to do. This goes for anything in life. Like if you're trying to achieve a goal, you should always try to learn from a man, a woman who's been there. And having a great team around you. A lot of times you might fail or you won't achieve your goal because of the team around you. Like your team want sometimes there's some people in the team that hate on you. So you gotta get a team that you all want to achieve greatness.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times I've seen a lot of guys fail because their team don't care about them as much as they care about them, and you have to be all trying to get the same goal. So and then you have to work hard, and you have to be willing to network as well. So I think all these things are like important. If you want to, because you have to think, I came from the UK, I went to the USA, and I didn't care who you was. I would work with you, I would talk with you, and I think that's why kind of with me and Floyd we got on, because he knew that I wasn't from the USA. I flew over there, I came to his gym, and I was willing to spar. If anyone was anyone, I was willing to spar and put in that work. And I was actually good. And then I would go for runs with Floyd, and everyone else would get left, and then I'll finish with Floyd. So he knew that I work hard. So even if I didn't have the best skills, I wasn't as strong, but he knew inside me that I would work and I would give my best. And you know what I mean? He kind of respected that. So, and as well, another thing I would always say, someone like Floyd, he does a lot of good, but he doesn't really say about it. He doesn't say I do this, I do that. But there's people like me and his friends, his fam, who he's blessed, who he's touched. And it's for like someone like me or for us to go on to pass that around and to bless some others. So that's one thing I like about Floyd, that he does a lot of good, but he doesn't talk on it at all. You know what I mean? So sometimes like folks say, oh, why are you buying this chain? Why are you buying this watch for? You should be helping out this and that. He is, you just don't know about it because he doesn't show you. Like that doesn't interest him to show you, because the people whose lives he touches, they know.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to tell everyone else that I just helped this person here. He's not doing it for that. So that's one thing I respect about him, that he does stuff like, say when I came, there was a lot of the guys that wasn't from Nevada. He would get them a crib. He would buy them a car. Like I wasn't from Nevada, but he would buy me a car so I could drive around the place. You know what I mean? So he was cool. So there's a lot of things that he done that I learned like from him. So yeah, it's all good.
Yes, sir. What? Thank you very much, Ashley.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you. Everybody listen to this. Check out the book, Raised by the Hood, Ashley Theophane. And how much does it cost in American dollars?
It's like $20.
$20.
But it's $6 if you get the ebook.
You hear that? You hear that?
The ebook is $6.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Ashley.
Cool.
Blessed day.
All right, my man. Peace.
Peace.